Hello and welcome to the seventh episode of Music Mates, the podcast where I pick two albums from each year in the 90s, apart from 1992, Music Mates 70s, and the final episode, and we talk about them. Today is the third year in a row where we have really two excellent albums for you. Before we gradually make our way downhill till we get to 1999, which is so weak, I had to pick another album by a band we've already reviewed. Right, so the first two albums we'll do today was released on the 13th of June 1995 by eccentric Icelandic electronica legend Björk. Björk's official third album, preceded by simply called Debut and succeeded by Homogenic, Björk's electronic sound and styles have been a major influence in developing electronica music of the mid to late 90s. So although Debut will have the implication that it was Björk's first album, she had actually been a professional singer since she was a child. In elementary school, accompanied by a piano, her teachers submitted a tape of her singing Tina Charles's I Love to Love, which premiered on Iceland's Radio 1. She was soon offered a record contract, and at 11 she released her first album in 1977, featuring several pop songs, among them of which included Fool on the Hill by the Beatles. During the late 70s and early 80s, she became involved with the punk revolution, going from band to band, at some point becoming what is widely thought to be Björk's starting career with the Sugar Cubes. The Sugar Cubes became one of the very few Icelandic bands to break out of its own country, with their debut album Life's Too Good becoming a British and American hit in '88. By 1992, inattention caused the band to break up, which resulted in Björk following her own dance-focused solo career. She struck a partnership with Nelly Hopper, if I pronounced that correctly, producer who had previously worked with groups like Massive Attack. The first single they released together was Human Behaviour in '93, which went on to become a top 40 hit in the UK. When the inevitable album came around, other tracks like Venus is a Boy and Big Time Sensuality cemented Björk as a leading figure in determining the course of British music in the 90s. Army of Me, the banging opening track from her next album, Post, was released as a single in spring of '95, receiving rave reviews along with the rest of the album, which followed later that year. Homogenic, what many people think to be her most experimental and bizarre work to date, came out the following year. In the year 2000, Björk won an award for her work at the Cannes Film Festival for her work in Dancer in the Dark, a Danish musical drama directed by Lars von Trier. In 2004, Björk released Medulla, which comprised of all vocals and vocal sample-based sounds, performing one of its songs Oceania at the 2004 Olympics in Greece. While in tour supporting her 2007 album Volta, Björk began working on her most ambitious project so far, Biophilia, which is described as an interactive exploration of humanity's relationships to sound and the universe. Initially envisioned as a musical house, then as an IMAX film directed by Michel Gondry, was eventually released as a suite of apps for iPads and iPhones. The album was released in 2011 on CD. She continued the project, setting up a Kickstart campaign to release the album on Windows 8 platforms and Android. Björk's next album, Volcanara, which traced the aftermath of her relationship with Matthew Barney, arrived in 2015. And in 2017, her most recent album, Utopia, was released, proving her career is still going strong to this day, constantly experimenting with new sounds and new ways of conveying music. The album by Björk we're reviewing today, however, is Post, and the track listing includes Army of Me, Hyper Ballad, The Modern Things, It's Oh So Quiet, Enjoy, You've Been Flirting Again, Isabel, Possibly Maybe, I Miss You, Cover Me, and at 11, the final track, Headphones. Right, let's get started. So I'll kick us off then. Just give me a second. Right, so the first song from the album is Army of Me. I've got quite a few things to say about the song because I really do like it a lot. I'd say that if you want to kick off an album with a bang, you don't do New Year like the Breeders or secondhand news like Fleetwood Mac, you do Army of Me. It's with a brilliant title, this song really does rock, I think. It's quite interesting because it's definitely her, and you can tell that it's a song that she would write, but I don't think it sounds like the rest of the album or tells you early on how the rest of the album will sound like, which is kind of a strange choice. I think something like the song afterwards, Hyper Ballad, sounds a lot more closer to the rest of the album. Having said that, I wouldn't change Army of Me's placement because it really does start the album well. And we talk about songs like that one from the Pulp album we did, Acrylic Afternoons, where the singing, the exact tone of it, of his words and the way he says them, fits the lyrics so well, where the singer actually does sound like the message he or she is trying to convey. And this is one of those songs for me. She has the voice of someone who sounds like she's been broken down, like she's tired, like she can't take it anymore, matching perfectly the lyrics, which she has described, I think, in interviews as being about the damaging behaviour of her younger brother. Not to mention the fuzzy bass line as an instant hook. I love the way it starts with that kind of. I can't even describe the sound, but as soon as the drums and the bass kick in straight afterwards, it's just so good. And I think the drums are partially sampled from Led Zeppelin's "When the Levee Breaks" as well, which is another good thing to talk about. The music video, which I've shown, I believe, Harry and Johnny, is. I know you're not a massive fan of videos, Harry, but I think it's still fantastic. It's directed by Michel Gondry, who is now famous for having directed films like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And I think he started his early career doing music videos in the 90s. He did quite a few, especially for Björk as well. And the video is just a complete whirlwind of really bizarre imagery, including her driving a giant lorry through a city and fighting a gorilla for a diamond, and then placing a bomb in a museum, which is, I mean, I'll talk about it later, but it's somehow even less weird than possibly Maybe's music video. And yeah, it's just a great song through and through, really. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I quite like this. I think it's a pretty strong opener for Bjork. I think. Oops, sorry. I think. Like, yeah, I'll agree with what you said. I think like her voice has like an odd quality to it that I'm not super used to. I don't know any other singers that sort of sound like that, but it is good. I think it's it's a good open. And it starts strong.
Mm.
Yeah, it's definitely a good kind of opening. Those first few seconds, when you hear that music come in, it kind of reminded me of when we did like Black Sabbath, and like immediately the album's like I'm hooked straight away. And Army of Me, it's not my favorite song on the album. I think it's, if I was to rank them, it'd be somewhere towards the middle. But it definitely works well in establishing kind of a tone. Obviously, I won't be able to go into the musical analysis that Ethan can, but it sounds like cyberpunky. Like, don't know if that's a word or if I could use that. But yeah, it definitely kind of
not enough jazz.
The jazz is coming. The jazz is coming. But yeah, I like how her kind of voice is contrasted with the music as well. I don't know what that note means, but I'm sure it means something.
It means something. Yeah.
For a pretty good song. At this point in my train journey with Bjork, I was realizing that there was something special about to happen.
I feel I do have things to say about this song. One of the few distinct ones for me, because it was one of two that I knew going into this album, and I do like the sort of the under part of it, that bass line, that sort of intro slide is like a very good start to the song. I've realised that my problem is I don't think I really like the way she sings. It just doesn't really work for me. It is a bit off-putting, and I think I've got slightly more used to it as I've heard this song a few more times, but it's still not enough for me to like hold up the song on its own. It just sort of detracts too much from it, and especially with the very repetitive nature of the song all throughout, it just kind of, I don't know, I can listen to a good like 20, maybe 30 seconds of it and go, yeah, that was alright. I sort of have had it now though. So yeah, that's sort of my feeling with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I understand. I listened to the album through twice, I want to say, and by the third time, I was getting a bit of Bjork fatigue, so I understand that. But I think I'll say like it's warbly, her like voice, but I think it's mostly in a good way, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want to, because I'm a great believer in the fact that a singer doesn't necessarily have to be good; they just have to be distinctive, and she certainly is. But it's something that doesn't work for me and clearly works for other people, which I think is just my theme for this album. Is basically, it doesn't work for me, but clearly works for other people.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if there's any song on the album where you do like her singing and it does work for you at all?
Yeah, I'll bring it up if I like notice any going through.
All right, fair enough.
So I do listen to the songs in the background as we're talking about each one. So I will be able to like occasionally just pop in and go, I quite like this bit.
Yeah, that's good. All right, okay, so we can move on to the second track. It's another really, really good one. I quite like the bass sound again. And I mean, it's the kind of song where, you know, if you're sat in a room, stay outside and just by yourself and you're just listening to an album, not doing anything else, it's very cool. But yeah, no, the bass sound, if it's loud enough, for me, and I'm not doing anything else and just focusing on the song, it feels like my head is vibrating while I'm listening to it.
Yeah.
It's a strange
You need
effect.
good headphones to pick that up, though, you know.
Yeah. And again, I really like the lyrics. They're very imaginative and they paint a very, very vivid picture of someone at the top of a mountain, which it's great. And the music video as well is another Gondry creation, also really interesting and just as kooky as the first video. That's about it from me.
Okay. So as I mentioned, I was on the train back from Manchester listening to this album. I just listened to Garbage, you know. We'll get on to Garbage, but it didn't blow me away. I'll tell you that. And I was a bit worried about Bjork, you know. It sounded like it was going to be like a metal band, just the name Bjork. I was like, oh god, this is going to be an hour and a half of just. It's going to be another super unknown. And Army of Me was interesting. I was like, oh, okay. But it's at this song where I realised I was in for something special. It's just so unlike anything that we've done for Music Made so far. It's such a kind of unique song. It's almost spoken poetry in a sense, but then the music kind of comes in a bit later, and the lyrics are so fantastic. And I'm kind of in love with the way Bjork like says things. Like I don't know if it's just the Icelandic accent or if it's just her.
There's like odd. I don't know. Forgot what the word is for it, but like that she puts like pressure on certain syllables in like a way that sounds interesting.
An emphasis?
Yeah.
Syllable stress and all that. Yeah, something like that.
She's throwing bottles.
Yeah. Possibly.
And this was a great moment. This is when I realised like, oh shit, like something's going on here. Ethan's picked something which is very different to what he picks. Also, I'd like to mention that I think Bjork is the only solo artist that we have done so far and are going to do. Which is, as someone who always found myself gravitated more towards personality-driven music and like solo performers with a kind of unique voice versus the kind of a band's output. I saw myself already liking Bjork. But yeah, that's all I'll say about the song. I haven't actually said that much about the song, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty chill as well. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's sort of easing you into the more odd sound of, you know, the album. Like Ethan said, like, you know, the first one's a bit like of a false start, and this is sort of more transitioning into like the typical, you know, strangeness of post.
Yeah. I wonder why it is that I tend to pick bands more than solo artists. It's
I don't know. I guess rock is just like rock music and that kind of 90s grunge and bands like that. That seems to be your style.
Yeah.
Gravitate towards.
I suppose. But in one sense, I mean, well, we have some of the most famous artists of all time. You got like David Bowie and that lot. I guess maybe sometimes if it's just one person, they can kind of carry out the vision that they want without having other people coming in and interfering, so it kind of works more effectively in a sense.
Yeah. It's not like they make all the music themselves. Like they do obviously have bands,
Sure.
but I think when you're a solo artist, you can work with different bands. You can almost like reinvent yourself and change your style as you wish. Whereas if you're a band, you can't suddenly, if you've got a band of 4, go, we're gonna have no drums in this band, and then just kick the drummer out for an album. Whereas as a solo artist, you can work with whoever you want. You kind of have that freedom. Also, it's a cult of personality. Like a solo artist will likely be more famous as an individual than 4 members or 3 members of a band. So it takes a unique kind of character to pull that off.
Very
and
true.
Bjork is certainly a unique character through the music anyway.
Definitely. So if no one has anything more to say about this song, Jonathan, you do?
I can add some stuff
cool.
to this one. Yeah, I do like her voice in this one actually. Now I think about it and like listen to the background, and yeah, it does have that kind of I say unique pronunciation, I guess, that some of my favourite bands have. But I think with me, what I needed after Army of Me, which didn't really get me going, was something to grab me, which it doesn't, because it's so like relaxed basically, and it's just the same. I don't know. I guess it is a sort of, in a way, a kind of spoken poetry sort of thing in a way, but just the music itself never got to me. And I think if anything, because this is the one like you said at the beginning, that kind of vibraty feeling given by like the sort of bass. Just for me, that wasn't a pleasant experience. That sort of feeling. So that have as like the underlying thing to this song just isn't ideal.
Sure. I understand that. Do you find yourself preferring the first half more than the second half at all? Is there any kind of like distinct moment where it starts to become quite dislikable for you?
Yeah, there's a certain point from what I remember where I'm just where I was like, when listening to the first time, I was like, okay, no, that's enough. I actually have to stop this. So, and then I think, there's definitely one in the final half that I say I do particularly like. So it's difficult to work out.
That's cool. So the third track is The Modern Things. It's all right. I don't think it's one of the best ones, but it's still good. And I mean, the fact that I have very little notes on this song shows that I think much differently to something like Army of Me, there's nothing that kind of grabs me. But I'll tell you what I do like. I really like the repeated phrase that Björk sings towards the end of the song that keeps playing on loop, constantly repeating. I think it's really, really cool. It's just the little kind of experimental, quirky things that she does throughout a lot of the songs, I think, is definitely what keeps you listening. Well, for me, anyway. And that's all I really have to say about The Modern Things, unfortunately.
Yeah, The Modern Things was good because it's not the greatest song on the album, but the way she's kind of fused English with Icelandic almost kind of seamlessly. I said it as a kind of joke, but sometimes it's hard to tell if Björk is singing in English and you can't understand what she's saying, if she's making a noise or if she's singing in Icelandic. Such as her kind of the way she puts emphasis on things. Yeah. But I love the way this kind of the song evolves and becomes in kind of towards the end an Icelandic song, which is cool. It's cool. It's good. I like her style a lot. I like how she's kind of fused what I assume to be kind of folkier music from Iceland, the sort of thing that Enya would do, in this country. Kind of you'd see on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack or something, with this kind of dance music and synth. I don't know. It's not the best song, but it's got some interesting ideas, and it's setting up for the best song. So I don't mind too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say that this is one where like the lyrics really stood out as being really weird, and that was pretty interesting. I'll give it that,
Sure. All right. Jonathan, I assume.
Irritating noises. It's just all I'll say for this one.
All right, no worries. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the best one, but I think Harry thinks it's the best one, and it is still very good.
It's the best one.
It is really good. It is really good. It's so quiet. This is another really good track. It's probably, I'd say it's the most accessible song from the album, if there is one.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah, because there's just very little going on electronically. It's quite a swingy, jazzy sort of song that almost feels like a waltz in a sense. And along with Whiplash, it's one of the few things that actually makes me like jazz. So that's also a bonus. I think this is also a song that I really feel demonstrates Björk's vocal range in terms of volume. And towards the end, she's like screaming the lyrics in a very typical Björky kind of way, but throughout she's a lot more, soft-spoken, which I think works so well. And again, the music video is fantastic. It's a Spike Jonze directed one as well, similarly to Michel Gondry, another future filmmaker, also known for his kind of odd style of filmmaking, perfectly suiting Björk's taste, I think. And you should watch the video.
Both of those directors obviously work with Charlie Kaufman.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of coincidence. Björk and Kaufman must have the same writing capabilities.
I suppose. Yeah. Harry, this is your favourite, right?
Yeah, it's definitely my favourite. It's just fun, man. It's just a fun song. I don't think there's much comedy in a lot of the music that we pick. Mainly because comedy and music don't go well together. intentionally or unintentionally, this song is very funny. Like the kind of the juxtaposition between being as quiet and as loud as possible, the overemphasized over the top shh that gets repeated throughout. I can just imagine kind of being performed with like 100% energy by Bjork, like full on performance art. Obviously, I like jazz. This is basically a jazz song, which is definitely interesting. It's pretty iconic, the song as well. Like it's the only one from Bjork I'd heard before. It's just the juxtaposition between the quiet and the loud, which makes it so engaging. About halfway through, I'd say it becomes a bit more interesting musically. But yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun, and I'm interested to see what Tony and Johnny thought about it.
Yeah, I think this is definitely one of the better ones. I'll agree with what you said. The way it goes from being really quiet to being really loud is it really like grabs you in. I think if I've got the name of this song right, it reminds me of What's New Pussycat in some way, and and that's great. And I think Harry said the jazz is coming, and it comes in here, and it comes in strong, and I think it's a great song.
Yeah, I'd say about the same, and it's I'd say her most like well-known song. It's one you just sort of hear on a playlist at dinner parties. So when I first listened to it like just on its own, I was like slightly disappointed because it wasn't quite as good as I remembered it being from just in general. But then listening to it now in the background as I'm talking to you, I realise it's a great background song. So I'll give it that.
How it like suddenly peaks really loudly. That doesn't sound like good background music.
No, it shouldn't be, but I'm enjoying it a lot more than I did when I
enough.
just sat down and listened to it. So
I mean, all of this music was background music for me and Double XP Weekend on RuneScape. So, sorry, Ethan, I wasn't doing completely nothing.
That's okay, man.
I was doing slightly more than basically nothing.
If nothing's got
the smallest increment more than nothing.
Yeah.
If no one's got anything more to say, we can move on to.
Oh wait.
Yeah, Harry.
Can I just say two more things? The way Bjork can shout louder than any musician. The screams, the primal screams in this song are quite something to behold. And also the way she says riot is just amazing. And I've listened to that 5 seconds of another big riot a lot because it's just interesting the way she pronounces it.
Yeah.
Brings me so much joy.
And the amount of times that we've been walking about like this past weekend and you've just suddenly said another big riot.
I guess it's because she's rhyming it with quiet, so.
So
this song's a 10.
Yeah, possibly, maybe, in fact. So, any chance I can get?
It's not the next song.
It's not the next song because the next song is.
I really enjoyed that song.
Yeah, I enjoyed Enjoy a lot as well. It's definitely one that shows Bjork's dark side, definitely. And I really think it's definitely one of the more electronica ones. It has like a really dirty sound that feels kind of completely deformed in some way. And again, like with pretty much every other song on the album, her voice suits the song perfectly. It sounds quite dreary, but not really in a boring way. It still packs a punch. And it contains some moments where she kind of growls in a way that puts grunge singers to shame, I think. Yeah. And there's one other thing I really like about it as well. Towards the end, there's this kind of random descending sounding note that gets played before it abruptly cuts out, and I think that's pretty cool as well. And it's again a song. It's a sound I can't really describe, which is like a lot of Bjork's music. So yeah, that's Enjoy for me.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with Harry where the cyberpunk really kicks in for Enjoy. It definitely feels like if you took a VA11 Hawley song and just made it like really edgy, in a good way, and then had Bjork sing over it, of course. But yeah. Good.
It's the kind of, it shows how great Bjork is that you can have a song It's Also Quiet, which is basically a jazz song, and then have this play straight after it, and it is an abrupt kind of change in style, but I guess Bjork is your through line, and it's a very eclectic album, and there's that change really emphasizes it. Enjoy is also great. I love her kind of like her vocals in this are less expressive and kind of more robotic, which I like. I've written hardcore synth rock. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it sounds like to me. And it's loud. I like the kind of the sudden noises in it, and the abrupt ending, like Ethan said, is also very effective. Yeah, I enjoyed this song.
Well, for me, just the random like sort of screeching kind of brass tones for me, like just a very loud, just is kind of slightly painful for me. Just especially coming in at random points, it's just very unpleasant for me. And just along with her slightly like her voice is more whiny and screechy for this one, especially a bit where she was going enjoy. I was like, no, I am not enjoying this song. This was the point where I started like giving up properly on this album, to be honest. First time going through, and this was where I was sort of like, well, this was where I realised music is very much just a collection of sounds that works for some people and not for others. And for me, this is one of the I don't want to be, I don't want to say something just to kind of be overly decisive, but it just isn't nice for me, this song.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. It does have this sort of weird, like, dreary sort of energy to it. And I could see being like, oh man, this is just not good. You know?
It's like when I get a migraine is my problem with a lot of this music. It just reminds me of some of the most
physically translated pain like, into music form.
Some of the worst moments of pain in my life, and this is what like half of her songs remind me of. So
yeah,
the next one, the next one's nice and chill.
Yeah, the next one is nice and chill. It's kind of a weird one though for me. You've been flirting again, because it's not the best song, but I think every time I listen to it, I grow into it a little bit more, and I like it on some level because it is really unlike any other song on the album, I think, because it consists of the same few lines repeated over and over again, as if putting some, sort of extreme emphasis on it. And plus it doesn't get boring because her voice sounds so beautiful, so she has that as well. And the music in the background is just serene as well. It's just absolutely lush, and it really shows the influence of classical music and how it has an impact on her as well, especially in this one.
Yeah, the classical style is really evident. It reminded me of kind of the old film scores with the strings, and it's a lot shorter than the other ones, and it is repetitive. But I think because it's shorter, it doesn't wear too much. It's kind of in and out. It definitely contrasts with the previous song, and it's a good antidote. And also, I'd say it's not like identical, but it's fairly similar in its kind of tone to Isabel as well, which is obviously the song that follows this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one. It's one of the more laid back ones. I feel it's not as much energy as say It's So Quiet had, ironically, but yeah, this is a good. I think for the overall pacing of the album, it works well to be a bit slow after the other ones, I guess.
Yes, well, yeah, it's a good song, but at this point in the album, I needed something I could more get behind instead of be like gently soothed by, I guess. Just because for me, I like more energetic stuff. Just doesn't really work for me, but it's harder to then get involved by something that is so like soft when you've been so deterred by it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you like waiting for like a big like cymbal crash to come out of nowhere? Just start a big riot in the middle of this song. It's lulling you into a false sense of security. That's what it's doing.
I guess I'm wanting something to bite into that doesn't make my gums bleed, which is like all the stuff before that you can bite into from her has like really hurt me, and then like this is just too soft. It feels like nothing.
Yeah, you can kind of see my predicament because obviously she's not for everyone. I completely understand why you don't like her. But when I was choosing albums from this year, I knew picking Garbage would be like, yeah, I think everyone's going to like it. And I was really kind of indecisive about Björk because I genuinely thought between you three it would be like, well, a couple of you might give it a 1, someone will give it a 10. I feel like it really is such a massive split in
The new scoring system, ones or tens.
yeah.
Schrodinger's cat of the album.
So the track after that is Isabel, and I think it's my second favourite after Army of Me. I just love the way the song goes. I think one of the things I love about Björk is there's something extremely stripped back about her music. It sounds quite spiritual and bare, while still having like a large variety of different tones and sounds. It's it just feels like musical art in a very pure form, even though it's very electronic and machine-like. It's just such an interesting blend. But this track feels so elevating and weightless, especially when it comes to the chorus. It flows so well, and if you close your eyes at times, you kind of feel like you're roaming around the clouds. It's really, really cool. And I love the way it kicks in as well with what sounds like kind of trumpets. And then when all the layers come together straight afterwards, it's just such a good moment. And the sound of the drums make, it's quite tribal. It's just such a good song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When those drums come in, you know, this song goes from a 9 to a 10 for me. And obviously it's got a bit jazzy, which I like. You weren't sure about this, but I said that it sounds a bit like a classic James Bond theme. Especially a more Bond theme. It definitely could be.
I see
that
Bond theme-esqueness in it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty powerful, I'd say.
Yeah.
Good song.
The very beginning, it reminds me of Hyperlight Drifter's soundtrack. Just like the very strange sort of warbling electronic sound, but then it kicks into a more sort of Halo 2-esque, you know, bit of drums, bit of like tribal sounding rock music up in there. So yeah, good range.
There's a little bit that I really like, which is kind of when her first sort of bit of singing comes in. It's sort of got a rhythm, it goes lower. And then it has another bit where it goes slightly higher, and that just really works very well. I think my problem is, because I always have a problem with some song, with all these songs it seems, is sort of, I don't think it quite justifies the long length, and it has other parts that don't quite work so well for me.
Yeah. This song also has like quite an interesting backstory as well, which I'll mention. So I think the song itself is based upon some story that Björk came up with when she was collaborating with an Icelandic poet called Sjón. And the title character, Isabel, of course, the song's about her being born in some like magical forest. And as it's described, I think, it's about sending a message of instinct amongst the logic thinking of a nearby city, which just sounds so cool. And I read it's also actually part of a trilogy of songs by Björk from different albums, all about the same character. And those two songs are Human Behaviour, which is the excellent opening track from her first, but technically her second album, and Bachelorette from Homogenic, which is the album after Post. And I think I read that Björk got the idea when a moth flew onto the collar of her shirt and stayed there for a very long time. And interpreting this event as an omen, she decided to write like a 900-page diary entry about a character she invented. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
She sounds like a very interesting character.
You can definitely get this just through the music. Like, it's always good to read more about people, but like her personality comes through her music 100%.
Yeah, especially since, you know, normally people who go on about crazy things like this, when it comes to like translating it, just sounds like fucking garbage. It sounds nonsense. It doesn't sound like garbage, you know. Get into that later, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Drum roll, Cymbal Crash, etc. But no, normally when people have such out there ideas, you know, it does not translate. It just sounds like, oh, you just don't understand it, when really they just don't have the technical skill to, you know, translate their ideas. But she does. She's fucking got it in, you know, spades, I guess.
Never trust anyone who's been in a Lars von Trier film. That's what I say.
We should watch that at some point. Maybe pick it for a line.
We should.
Yeah.
I've heard it's very good.
Yeah, the next song, possibly, maybe, is another one I really, really like. I think, I don't know, maybe not. Well, anyway, so I love this song because it's, you know, really gentle and pleasant, and it shows that as well as being someone who can express her voice very loudly when with like tremendous power, she can be extremely soft and oh so quiet. I like the hi-hat drum that continues to go throughout as well. I think it really gives the song a decent pace. And Bjork has said that this song is about different stages in a breakup, saying it was one of the most unhappy songs she's written, not giving much hope. And funnily enough, though, the person the song is about also directed the music video. Stefan Sednui, I think is how his surname's pronounced. And there's also like rumors that Bjork recorded this song completely naked, but that was never confirmed. I think that's just so funny as well.
All right, shall I talk about it? I mean, I don't have too much to say. You did ask us when we were listening to these to listen to them in a dark room, or like Old Boy, and I listened to it on a train. But this, of all of them, this is the one that kind of works as background music. It reminded me of a lo-fi hip-hop beats to relax and study to, in a way. I read a little bit about the album, meaning I just clicked on the Wikipedia page and read the first paragraph, which talked about the how she kind of took inspiration from the sounds of London, and those kind of the city sounds and the kind of the techno future vibe that I'm getting from the album. They do come through in this song. I'm not sure what the lyrics are. I found the vocals quite hard to follow in this one. But yeah, it was good. It's a good song. Not the best, but certainly good.
Oh yeah, that's right. Actually, I meant to say. I think I said this to you like the other day, but the beginning of that, what Jonathan just hummed, actually quite well as well. Reminds me of the beginning of that song from Kid A. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Harry?
Everything in its right place.
I kind of forgot the title yet again. But yeah, that's a really good song as well. So when this song reminds me of another song that I also really like and does it just as well, I'm just like, yeah, this is great. Great.
All right, Tony?
Which song are we on?
We are still doing Possibly Maybe.
Possibly Maybe. Yeah, this is the one we've been alluding to as we've been going so far, and it's definitely worth the build up again. It's one that stands out from the album because of just the way she just says possibly maybe, being such a memeable phrase. but yeah, again for the reasons we said before, she just puts a good inflection on it, and it's got a good rhythm behind it.
That's cool. Jonathan, do you have anything to say about this song?
I think this is one where I feel her voice doesn't work as well for it, and just the repeated like riff that hum just gets a bit grating after a while, especially with its like 5-minute run time. Don't really have much to say other than that.
Sure, no worries. So the next track is I Miss You. I Miss You I really like. Actually, I think originally when I first listened to this album, however long ago it was, I wasn't a massive fan. But I listened to it again. I definitely like it a little bit more. I think the beat itself it's fine. It's quite steady, and the song keeps moving. But there's a moment where the song really picks up, and I know Harry likes it as well. Yeah, and it's also got like a really cool drumming breakdown, which I like a lot as well. It gives it some variation, and the way it cuts out at the end as well. It's so blunt, and it just goes out with a bang. So yeah, it's a good track.
Yeah. I like
this one. Techno pirate beat.
Yeah, I was gonna say pirate. Oh man, it definitely has.
This is a hell of a song.
That sea shanty theme.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are really good too.
Yeah. Like this is such an odd song. Like starting with the accordion and then going into dance music and that kind of fusion of pirate dance. I don't know. This is a new genre of music apparently. And I wasn't too keen on it at first, actually, when I was listening to it. And then the drums come in, this kind of Caribbean drums, and you're like, okay, this is interesting. It's picking up now. And then they fucking pull the national anthem out, and they come in with the trumpets. Every song should just have trumpets coming halfway through. Because at that moment, I was like, this is a fantastic piece of music. And once again, the bit where the trumpets come in, I've listened to more times than I'll care to admit. It's a really great song. Probably my second favorite on the album, actually. And yeah, despite the slow start, it really picks up the pace and is a brilliant track.
It's a shame because I feel like I like the songs that are around the sort of 3/4 mark a lot more than the beginning ones, and if it would have been more like what was it called? The first album we ever did,
Violator.
Violator, yeah. I probably would have listened to this album more, but now I'm just like, oh, I've got to find the fucking timestamp of like it's so quiet and start from there or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's still really good. Yeah, I'll agree with Harry's points.
That's cool. All right, so if Johnny doesn't really have anything to say about this song, we can move on to the penultimate song, which is Cover Me.
Johnny's probably sick of us talking about it.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. So I'll try and not be too long so we can move on to garbage. But Cover Me, I think, is the one that I probably I like a lot more than everyone else does. I think, well, I'm not too sure about Tony, but Harry definitely, I think, isn't like a massive fan of this one. But I do like it. I mean, it's short. I don't mind that at all. And it still works for me. Again, this one stands out as being quite an experimental one. I think the album does tend to get like really kind of like, oh, I'll just come up with random sounds, put them in a song, that kind of thing. But it's extremely atmospheric.
No, that's unfair. I feel that all of them are measured, even though that they are random. They are not, never mind, just fucking hitting fucking guitar against the floor or however they made that bonus track.
No, they were playing cricket. And secondly, have you heard Headphones? That one is just random sounds.
Headphones is good.
It is. It's not a criticism at all. I'm just saying. All right, that's all. I'm just saying.
Cover Me.
Yeah, but it's extremely atmospheric and peaceful, and it has this element of sounding like it's taking place in a garden because of the sound of insects in the background and the sound of kind of like storm clouds forming. But and there's also this really beautiful acoustic guitar sounding tune playing throughout. It's quite nice too. And it's good. I like it.
I think Cover Me is one of the ones I like the most actually from this album. This is one that I feel does work when you just sit down and listen to it, especially with headphones. As in the instrument you listen to music with, not the next song. Just the soundscape that it gives you is like all around was very impressive. I remember thinking when I got to this one, a Bjork song I like. So yeah, no, that's my feeling. Doesn't work quite so well as background music, this one though. But I do remember enjoying it when just listening to it on its own.
That's cool.
Yeah, I have to admit that at this point in the train journey, I was walking through the busy city centre headed home. So obviously the effect the first time was slightly lost on me, as it's a very quiet song, like Headphones actually. So I did like it more on my re-listen, but there's something slightly off key about the whole thing. Perhaps because it was recorded outside, it kind of lacks a clarity, and it's very short. And I as I demonstrated with my experience with I Miss You, I feel like Bjork songs maybe take a little bit of time to get going. Maybe like you've got to adjust to it, and then you really start to appreciate it. And because Cover Me ends before I feel like it really gets going, this was my least favourite one. It didn't engage me that much. But I like Headphones.
That's cool. Yeah. If no one else has anything to say, we can move on to the final song. This song's great. This is precisely, I think, how an album should end. It's not only memorable because of how bizarre and unusual it is, but it's definitely, for me, the most experimental song on the album. It really does sound like Bjork has kind of just messed around with a bunch of really random sounds and says the first thing that comes to her head, literally just speaking her mind. There's lines like, I like this resonance, and this is very interesting. It's not really telling a story. It's just a combination of cool sounds that work together. And there's something at its core that's just absolutely genuine and authentically Bjork about its randomness. And I also like the strange sounding Icelandic phrases.
This song is just too good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a quite weird one, but I think it's a strong one to end on.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. As I probably demonstrate throughout my taste, the albums I like, I do like a slow song to end an album. I feel like a long slow, maybe little bit repetitive. I don't mind that with the last song. I feel like it's always a nice way to end the album. And this is no different. It's better to listen to with headphones, ironically. But yeah, it's a decent way to end a great album. Not the strongest. Maybe towards the lower end of the Bjork. This album, don't know what it's called. Is it called Post?
Playlist.
Yeah, it's pretty lower down on my rankings, but I mean, even a bad Bjork song for me is still a good one. I know Johnny probably doesn't agree with me, but yeah.
For him, it's probably the opposite.
Yeah, it is the opposite. I can make some snarky comment about, it does make me glad, the album ends, but I'm rise above that.
John, come on, you stop trying to sugarcoat it. Just be an asshole. It's funnier.
True, but then I don't want to insult. Like, I want to be, because I know how much some of you like this. So it's like, I don't want to shit on you know, the stuff you like. But yeah, no, it's
literally
it's
what
much.
this
This is another.
podcast
Yeah. So does that mean that you're going to be
maybe
very
it's
nice
because
when we come to reviewing 2001? It's just not going to shit on it at all.
Yeah, well, I think it's because this podcast has made us like shit on each other's things, and then we sort of, at least I went, maybe we shouldn't just do that. Maybe that's a bit too harsh. Yeah, no, I don't like this. This is another one where it's a collection of sounds that don't work for me. And again, with this one, I find her voice overly irritating, and it just can't keep me. It becomes more of a, what would be the word, like endurance test to get to the end of the song than anything else.
All right. So should we wrap it up then? This album.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yeah, let's wrap. Oh, Ethan.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all heard your introduction to Bjork. It was a very impressive
Oh,
introduction.
thanks. I'm glad you think so.
Did you mention your own personal experience with the album? And, like, when
I
you
was
first listened
just
to it?
about to mention my personal experience with the album in
Oh,
my
brilliant.
conclusion as well.
I thought it was a good story.
Yeah. So, in fact, I keep meaning to ask you what your thing was, because I remember you have like a similar thing, but it was like with a video. Was it Football Manager that helped you? Is that what you told me, Harry?
Huh?
Are you not even listening?
Oh, I mean, I played a lot of Football Manager,
Okay, all right.
but I played a lot of Football Manager for like 6 years.
Yeah. So I actually I got like kind of a personal connection to this album because I think I knew Army of Me and It's So Quiet. I've known those songs for a long time because my mum loves them and plays them all the time. And for some reason, I think I was looking for albums to pick from this year. And I know that we already had Bjork on CD, so I thought, maybe I'll listen to it. And I started listening to it around the time of my A-levels. And I liked the album so much on the first time. And it was the way that it was like, it's such a relaxing, comforting kind of album that it kind of reduced stress for me a little bit. So the night before, I think pretty much all of my A-level exams, maybe 7 or 8 of them, the ones that were kind of like stressing me out the most, I'd listen to this album before I went to bed, and it would completely it would just take the stress out of me, and I would just lie there, and it was kind of therapeutic, and for that I'll always be thankful for Bjork. But there's other things as well. It seems to transcend genres for me, this album. It's such a strange but well-worked kind of amalgamation of different influences that work together beautifully. Every song, unlike Garbage to me anyway, stands on its own and doesn't blur with others. And it's just really, really great. And I think I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Very strong. So Ethan, if you're still there, I don't know if you mentioned Bjork's other albums. Which ones did you say in the beginning again? Just to remind me quickly.
So in the beginning, I said that technically her first album was released in the 70s. She did it as a child, and it was kind of like I can't remember. She was like maybe 12 years old or something, and it was kind of like it was a bunch of covers of kind of famous songs that she did.
Yeah.
And then she officially And then she officially released.
So
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Ethan, you go ahead. You go.
Okay, all right.
You-
And then before this album, she released the quote-unquote debut album, which is called Debut, and I think commercially that's maybe homogenic. I think in the grand scheme of things, this one actually isn't her most famous. I think the one before and after are more well known. And I've not listened to Homogenic, but it's supposed to be her most experimental work, and which really says something if you listen to Post. But I've listened to Debut, and Debut is also really, really good as well. The first track, like I said earlier, Human Behavior, it's just fantastic. So if you did like this album, go check out the one before and the one after.
Well, I think so. I'm gonna come in with a little tale about how he listened to this album went. So I remembered, Ethan said, you have to listen to Bjork, right? You have to listen to Bjork, and I was like, for the train journey. And so that I had like a while ago, and I forgot to do it. But anyway, I remembered that, and I was like, At no point had Ethan said the name of the album, so I was confused with. I must have got it mixed up with Garbage, which is another self-titled album we're doing for this episode, right?
Mm.
And so that's an error that compounded. And so I searched into to YouTube just Bjork, right? Bjork on its own. And then I saw there was an album released in the 70s, and I was like, have we done the 70s episode of Mediate yet? Completely blanking on the fact that it was last episode. It's like, oh well, I'll just listen to this one, and I have to say, listening to Bjork, I was not sold the first time I listened to it. It sounded very high pitched, very strange. But I was like, you know what, Ethan, I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna trust in his judgment. but like listening to it, I was like, God, this really sounds just like a better produced version of fucking Year 7 Girls Choir. and then, lo and fucking behold, I had accidentally listened to the entirety of Bjork's first album from when she was 12 years old.
Oh my God.
And that was entirely because I was trusting Ethan that there's something to this, He's picked this for a reason, and I don't know what it says of my opinion of you that I thought you'd have picked that album. And I listened to all of it, and I'm gonna give that album like a 5 out of 10. But this one, it's a lot better than that. Oh my God! Once I realized my mistake, I was so glad. When I stepped into Army of Me in the first 30 seconds, I was like, yes, music made by an adult, and fair play to Bjork, she was pretty good at 12 years old, I don't mean to insult her that much, but being an adult, being older than like 13 makes you better at making albums, and so yeah, I had that very positive experience like starting Post, because like, oh my God, this is so much better. This is the one I actually have to do. So yeah, that's me being a massive fuck up. And,
Old Boy 2.
Yeah, except I listened to all of it, Harry. I listened to all of the album. Listen to Bjork's debut album that isn't her debut. But yeah.
So Tony, did you not look on the spreadsheet and see that it was Post by Bjork?
I in my hubris, I just didn't, and I eventually did after listening to the album. It's like, oh, Post. All right, my bad.
That's funny.
But anyway, do you want me to slap a score on the actual album we're meant to?
Please do.
Yeah, okay. I think this is very good. It's a shame because, like, I don't know, I feel like if I went back to it, I'd like it more. But like her voice has such like a quality to it that I just can't. It's like Ethan with anime; I just can't have too much fit in one day, So if I revisited more, there are quite a lot of songs here that I could see developing a pretty good attachment to. But as it stands on its own, it's very good. It's very good, and I'm glad got the chance to listen to something that is so outside anything I would normally do on my own volition, or that we've done before in this 90s Music Mates series. I'll give it a solid 7 out of 10.
Nice. All right.
Jono, Do you want to go next?
I mean, we don't even have to ask Jono because we know he'll give it a 10. So, I mean, we could just move on to you, Harry. Yeah, Jono, by all means.
I'd like to go last.
All right, I'll go then. Yeah, so I mean, I've already mentioned my like gripes with it and how like on the first time listening through, I just couldn't get through it. So I mean, it has got a bit better, but a lot just hasn't. It just has never wanted to like drag me back in. Really, it's. I mean, what I'll give it is it's made me understand music a bit differently, I guess, in the whole. Well, maybe understand how people can just not like things that others like, I guess. Very very strong with this sort of thing. I think.
Do you see what people could like in it though? Or is
with
it
things I
completely
enjoy,
alien?
no, that's completely alien. That is bizarre that anyone can like that. Sorry. So, yeah, some things like that. There are some things that are nice, but I wouldn't give any individual song on this album more than like a 7, maybe 8. So, and then a lot of stuff that is like actually painful for me. So I'll go 2 because I don't think it deserves a 1.
Is that the lowest?
1 or 10. 1 or 10.
The lowest we've given a Music Mates thing.
It is, yeah.
I'll hand it to Ethan that he's done well to go this far without making anyone like really dislike anything.
Turns out he's actually playing the Jackbox party game Split the Room, but with an album.
Do you think?
I mean,
Do you think 2 is the lowest you'd give an album on this podcast?
Probably, yeah.
Guess that's good. No 1s. It's not Animediate, thank God.
Yeah.
Only
It's
Erromanga
not the
Sensei.
objective to get a low score for certain episodes,
Yeah,
Ethan.
sure.
Oh,
I'll say,
Brian.
I mean, I also
the
haven't
dogs to
given a
Ethan, I'm
1
sorry.
on Animediate yet, so, you know.
Oh man, yeah. He's saving it.
God, I can't wait. Alright, shall I give my... Should we move on after I finished?
Yeah, go on ahead.
Cool. Let's wrap this up. So Bjork, I've said I listened to on the train, and not only was it kind of a great album to listen to, but it's almost restored my faith in listening to music. Because normally, I'd just stick a podcast on, I'd learn a bit, I'd laugh a bit, I never really considered music unless music I was very familiar with, because I was going to get the craving to listen to it again. But Bjork was so radically different to anything I'd ever heard before, and it was so eclectic, and my taste is very eclectic. It just really resonated with me. I fully understand why Ethan loves it, and why Tony likes it, and why Johnny hates it. And I've got to say, I do love it, and I think it's my favourite album that we've done so far, and that's why I'm giving it a 10.
Oh, that's wicked.
Man.
Yes.
Fucking hell.
Also, one final
I can't
point.
believe that something that's gotten 2 10s is not in the 30s club. It's the first time this ever happened.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
It did. Wait, surely it would get. Oh, Tony, give it an 8, please.
Well, no, then it'd only be 29.
Wait,
I can't do maths.
No, it would be 30.
No.
It would be 30
it would be
if you
30.
gave it an 8.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's not that good. I'm sorry.
That is quite
It's
impressive.
Not as good.
But,
I wouldn't as easily just go to listen to it as I would a Violator. And I might if I sort of listened song by song. But I don't know. I'll have to see if I pace myself a bit more, like over weeks. It's like, oh man, it's Monday. I'll listen to Bjork, once a week. Maybe I'll form an attachment to it. But for now, I think 7 accurately reflects how much I like it. And, it's not
Can I
bad
say
score,
my final point on
Yeah.
music videos? I just want to get this out there.
Okay.
Okay, so obviously there's lots have been said about music videos, but when I listened to Bjork, and I had nothing else to do apart from kind of stare out the window, such vivid images kind of appeared in my head, and I created my own meanings and interpretations from the lyrics and the music and kind of what it was telling me. So much so that even if Bjork is heavily involved in the music videos, which I'm sure she is, and they're made by such fantastic directors, which I know they are, I still don't want to see them. Like, I like being able to have my own images and not have suddenly this contrast of what I should be thinking about and what I actually do think about. Also, I did not enjoy the music video for Army of Me. Sorry.
Well, Harry, I'll just say a last thing, that if you're needing something to do while listening to albums, there's a game you could play.
Football Manager.
Yeah, Football Manager, of course. So we're gonna go on to Garbage then.
Yeah. The second album we're doing today was released on the 15th of August 1995 by alternative electronica rock quartet Garbage, fronted by Scottish singer Shirley Manson and backed by American instrumentalists Butch Vig, Duke Ellington and Steve Marker, giving the band a wide array of different influences. Originally producers Vig, Ellington and Marker began their career singing on other bands before they got together to form their own. Signing on other bands before they got together to form their own. The most famous of which, Vig, is more well known for having been the brains behind Nirvana's breakthrough album Nevermind in 1991. Vig learned the drums as a teenager, and after leaving college, met Ellington from the band Spooner. One of the band's fans turned out to be Marco, who stayed in touch with them over the years. Having reunited in 1993, they decided to form a band of their own in search of a lead singer. The group found out about Shirley Manson, who had until then been part of rock band Goodbye Mr. Mackenzie on backing vocals. The band broke up in 1993, meaning Manson was back on the lookout joining Angelfish this time. Marker saw one of the band's singles and contacted Manson, who came to audition a couple of times, officially then becoming the band's frontwoman. Later in the year of 1995, Garbage got together to record their debut album, self-titled, through getting heavy support from MTV, not Unplugged, and radio, the album gained a large popularity, getting platinum status in 1996. In 1997, the band was included on the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack with their hit Number One Crush. In the same year, they released their second album, Version 2.0, producing more hits for the band, such as I Think I'm Paranoid, When I Grow Up, and Push It. The band was then asked to contribute another song for a film, with the title track from World Is Not Enough. For the band's third album, Beautiful Garbage, Garbage decided to take on a slightly different approach, incorporating hip-hop and early 60s girl group influences. The band's next album, Bleed Like Me, came along in 2005. Even though the band were getting some traction after a more disappointing previous album, the band hit a blockage when they announced there would be a hiatus coming along very soon. During this time, Vig ended up being involved with different projects, most notably Green Day's 2009 album, 21st Century Breakdown. A best hits set, Absolute Garbage, was released, giving fans the hope that the band would eventually reunite, which wouldn't happen until 2012. Garbage got back together to release their fifth album, Not Your Kind of People, in the same year, 2012. International tour kept them going until 2013, when Garbage got together with Screaming Females to record the single Because the Night. Garbage's sixth album, Strange Little Birds, was released in 2016. Similarly to Not Your Kind of People, this album was self-released with their own label and was recorded in Vig's basement, giving the album a more stripped-back sound with little overproduction done, contradictory to what makes their work so loved before in the past. In 2018, the band released a 20th anniversary edition of their second album, Version 2.0, and embarked on a tour in support of this, marking an almost 25-year legacy, hopefully with more albums to come along in the future. The album in question, however, that we're doing today is the band's self-titled album, Garbage, from 1995. Track listing includes number 1, Super Vixen, then Queer, Only Happy When It Rains, As Heaven Is Wide, Not My Idea, Stroke of Luck, Vow, Stupid Girl, Dog New Tricks, My Lover's Box, Fix Me Now, concluding the album is Milk. So let's get cracking.
So let's kick off with the first track from Garbage. Just like Army of Me, I think this is a great way to kick off an album. This song is absolutely incredible.
It's such a banger.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's been my favourite for a while now. I think it used to be Only Happy When It Rains, and I went back and listened to it and I was like, no, there's some really great things about this song. I think it immediately tells you what the band's about. I mean, the lyrics are immensely dark and obsessive. And I think what my favourite thing about Super Vixen is in the intro that gets played a few times throughout the song, there's this great effect they do where the song literally feels like it caves in on itself and then by imploding and then explodes in an array of awesome sounds. And I think I read somewhere that it's an effect which was supposedly brought in the recording session when the track kept slipping during the mixing, and they were like, actually, no, let's keep that. The solo is also great. I mean, the way that the two guitar parts kind of layer over each other and keep building on one another in a similar way that the solo from Say Ain't So does. It's just a really neat effect, and it feels like it's constantly one-upping itself. Bow down to me. What a fucking line.
Yeah.
I just feel that they're such musical geniuses. Basically, for me, just the way it jumps from the like louder parts to the quieter parts, and just it doesn't feel like it ever makes a step wrong. And they've just got such a unique tone to them as well. And I love the voice of the singer in this.
Yeah. I think this is gonna be hard for me to talk about because I'm just like, it's good, you know. And I will say, you know, it starts right. You know, I'm like, okay, you know, pretty well made, you know, rock beat, you know, pretty good. Let's see where this is going. And it took me like 45 seconds to be like completely sold on the album when it fucking kicks in, you know, because I don't know what was the album we did alongside the Jarvis Cocker one, the other one,
was it The Breeders?
The Breeders.
Cannonball. No, not Cannonball. Last Splash.
Yeah, that one. I referenced a Garbage song because I was like, why can't music be like this, you know? And coming back to Garbage, I'm just like, yeah, they just know how to have energy in songs, which is good.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I'm just at a part in the song right now. It's just like a call and response between two guitars going over the top of each other. I'm just like, I'm in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, this album it's like a whole new religion. It's a fallen star we cannot live without. It's almost as if I'm listening to the album now. Yes.
That song that you were talking about just a second ago, I can't remember which one it was, but the one from the other album that I was going to do by Garbage and then changed my mind and decided to do this one instead. Do you think that song is better than all of the songs on here, or are there some that you prefer even to that one?
I think that they're all I think Garbage are very consistently good, so I wouldn't say it's, you know, massively better or worse. I think, you know, I don't even think it would sound that out of place on this album, you know.
Yeah, it's Garbage is one of the few bands that I have listened to. Well, not all of their songs, because there's quite a few just like random stuff that I probably haven't heard. But I've listened to the majority of their songs, and I don't think there's a single one I'd say I dislike. So, man,
yeah,
it's potentially my favorite band. This.
That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah, Harry, do you have anything to say about the opening track?
Yes, it's the best song on the album by far. I don't want to have the bias of the one I knew before we start is my favorite one, but I am going to do that because it's true. This song has an energy that I don't think is as it's present in the album, but not as this level. It's such a frantic song. I love the pauses. It's a brilliant way to start the album.
Pauses.
And
yeah.
I just like to say before we go on, I will not be contributing as much to this one because I feel like Jono stayed quiet in the last one, and he loves this band. I'm gonna give him the mic and take a back seat.
Mentioning pauses, I remember us once having an argument on some level of like, I hate pauses in songs, and you saying it can be done well. And I'm listening to this song, I'm like, oh my god, the pause works. It's the perfect, like, to the millisecond length for it to, like, carry the energy while being essentially silent, you know?
It just means that when it hits back in again, it just hits back again with just such a, I don't know, a great energy from, I guess, being, like...
Take a shot every time we say energy.
I don't really know, but it just, like...
Die of alcohol poisoning.
No, it just sort of rolls over itself in a way, and it just
builds really well.
Yeah. And just the guitar riff is great in general, just that kind of heavy it's slightly annoying because it's so good I can't put it into words, so I'm kind of useless in trying to convince anyone it's good, but like
you just have to listen to it.
Yeah.
Jonathan, do you think this is the band's best album?
I don't know.
Do you like version
So I think
2.0 as well?
yeah, I do like version 2.0. I think that's weaker than this one. I think one of the ones that I think I do really like. Oh wait, let's look through some of them. Just quickly, because I do quite like yeah. So I like Bleed Like Me. I think
Mm.
that's one of their most different sounding albums, I'd say. And Beautiful Garbage is great as well. But yeah, I think probably version 2.0 is the weaker of those sort of four. And then they have released like much newer thing, Strange Little Birds, which I've listened to, and it's not been quite as memorable. But yeah,
Mm. Mm. Sure.
no, I can't really say which is the best, but this is definitely a strong one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so moving on to the queerest of the queer.
Just queer.
Yeah. This song has grown on me immensely. I used to not be like a massive fan of it, and re-listening to the album now recently, I've been like, actually, no, this song is really, really good. It's not
fucking
quite as...
singing it non-stop.
Yeah, I know. That's because that's Garbage's thing. They kind of like they manage to kind of implant themselves in your head, and if you listen to a song by them, you're singing lyrics from that song for the rest of the day. It's catchy as fuck. I can't put it any other way. But yeah, it's not quite as rocky as the first one, I think, but it's still a really good track. It's slower. It's more gentle. It still retains the darkness of the first track, and that darkness is definitely pronounced all the way through the entire album. And I mean, that's like another thing about Garbage. It kind of, I think with Queer especially, it is kind of, there's something a bit weird about it. And I think especially when you have the lead guitar part, it's really dissonant when it comes in later on, and it just adds to the song feeling a bit kind of maimed and not altogether right, but not in like a bad way. It's still great. And another thing I really love about Garbage as well. Hang on, Jonathan. I know you want to say something. What I love about Garbage is they have like a really good way of building songs. I think, especially when you get to like when you get to like the last chorus of a Garbage song, they've added some layer, and it just completes the song for me. And when the lead guitar comes in towards the end, that's when the song comes together so well, and it's like what Garbage do really well, I think.
I really love the like whispered tone of this, just sort of going all throughout, and just the way some of the lyrics as well just blend in with the guitar, with the like da 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 da, just that.
Yeah.
And then you still just have that guitar that goes on through, and it like gets into the chorus, and then the chorus itself has this kind of like building sort of feeling to it. There's like queerest of the queer, the birds of the dead.
Yeah.
Just, and then it reaches the end, sort of topples over the edge, and then goes back to that little thing, apart from the time where it then like bursts into this more like I don't want to say energetic again, but like sort of heavier and louder like guitar solo. It just this definitely for a while was my favourite song by Garbage. Could very well still be. It's just, for me, they're all so good. It's difficult. Well, a lot of them are all so good. It's difficult to go for a favourite.
Yeah,
but
I definitely have that problem, because although they're very consistently good, you know, they do throw a little bit of, you know, like you said, with this one having that more whispery vocal quality, you know, it keeps the songs feeling like, you know, listening to it the first time, like the fact that every song keeps up this such a good. I've got the thesaurus doc on page for energy looked up, and I'm going to go through them. So it keeps up such an intensity that but I was just excited to see like how they kept doing it in each new song. In this one, it works really well as well.
Yeah, just as it goes on as well, the sort of guitar kind of takes over more from the sort of vocals that it kind of just starts out with. This is, I think I've seen like most of the music videos from Garbage, just because a lot of them are quite interesting. This one has a sort of interesting go through, and like the lead singer is very much just sort of like coaxing you along. Basically, you're like, it's a like first person camera sort of thing, just sort of looking at her and being like dragged along. I say dragged along, but you're sort of following her. Just as she like stares you in the face, and and then sort of leads into some like weird stuff. But it's, I mean, yeah, it's weird and interesting. I'd say, which is something that quite a few of their music videos have.
The music video certainly lived up to their namesake. I do like the song. I don't know if I'd like it.
Pun of many.
There won't be many because this album is good. But I don't know if this song would have stood out to me as much if Ethan hadn't sung it so much, and him doing so has kind of got it stuck in my head. And the fact that it did get stuck in my head is a testament to it. And it's repetitive, but like when that guitar comes in, you're like, okay, this is a really great song. And following on Super Vixen is hard, and it manages that. And it's also followed by another really good song, which just goes to show that the start of this album is fucking it slaps.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a great start to an album, yeah. Especially as well, it works. This softer, longer song works after the kind of more typical energy.
Don't say energy, Jono. You can say power. That's the next one on the list.
Powerful.
Yeah, the power in Super Vixen. Whereas
the next one is really good.
Yeah.
Can't wait to say the next word on the list.
Yeah. Let's move on to the third track, shall we?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Only happy with the rains.
This is a tremendous song. I think this is probably. Yeah, go on, Tony. No, you go on. You go on ahead.
Or me? Oh man.
Yeah.
This is one that I had listened to before because it's fairly popular, you know. And so I'd heard it before, and going into it, you know, I was like, oh man, this is really good. And I think I can find the exact time code. It's like 10:43 into the album, where it says, I'll find the exact line. It's I don't know. It's something like I only smile in the dark or something, I think is in this song. And I was like, oh my god, there's so much spirit in this album that I'm like, it's incredible. I was completely sold like around this timestamp, and I was like, oh my god, it's incredible. And so this is probably one of my favorite songs, but it's so hard to choose. You know,
it has some great lyrics. This song, just like the going through all the, I mean, it's just kind of variations on "Only happy when it's rain," "Only a nice thing when it's bad thing." But just it really works, and the guitar through and the bits where it drops out and then just has the singing, and then the guitar comes back in. It's like there's again, just I guess I'd call that a sort of use of pause. Which is great.
Yeah, they have such good rhythm.
Yeah, this song just like, I mean, it almost always comes to me when it's raining, and I'm just there going, yeah, I want to be happy when it rains, and so I'll just start singing, especially with the "Pour Your Misery Down on Me." Just, yeah, I like sing this when it's raining.
Yeah. What I was going to say was, I think, I don't know which it is, but it's definitely this one or "Stupid Girl," and that was one of the first songs that I heard by this band, and it's kind of the song that made me really get into them. So it was my favorite for the longest time. But it's just, I mean, I think on some level, because of how like distorted and muddy the guitar tone is, you could like even classify it as like a grunge album on some level. And I think this one, it's definitely one of the ones that makes it like really grungy and kind of like, it's like a really muddy sort of tone. But I do love it. Like you both said, the lyrics are, you know, really memorable, and they're descriptive, and they're hypnotic, and I just love, like, they're just really angsty, the lyrics. They're just really, really cool.
Such a powerful teen angst coming from this album. It's like,
So my feeling when you say about it like being muddy, I mean, I guess that's because it's about rain, but no, I think what sort of keeps it from being more typical grunge is the like higher notes it has, kind of,
especially with the
top. It just, I don't know, it just feels like a much kind of fuller sound in the sense that it's two layers going over the top of each other, which really works for some of the bits because they're kind of like rolling off each other, and it does like, it is reminiscent of like, well, very heavy rain. No, it's I mean, it's mostly because it's like I feel like I don't like grunge, but I really love this, so I want to say it's not
you've got
grunge.
Ethan's
But
metal category.
yeah.
I just like to say that my iTunes version of this album classified it as grunge, although I would disagree with that.
Interesting.
So, for and against points there from me.
Yeah.
It's a good song.
So
It's a good song.
I'd always say it as just like alternate, which is kind of like the go-to. Just like if you don't know what to say, just say it's alternate. But yeah,
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Johnny. Actually, I mean, I definitely say it's closer to alternative than it is to grunge, because alternative is all about kind of like, you know, discovering your own sound and, you know, being different and kind of being yourself instead of kind of fitting into an already established category, if that makes sense. But yeah, no, I do know what you mean, because like, I mean, if you take Nirvana for instance, that's kind of like, oh, if you're writing a Nirvana song, you're just like, oh, we'll just like think of 4 power chords and then just slap them together. But with Only Happy When It Rains, I mean, there's so much more going on. You're right, it's layered and there's so many different. Yeah, exactly.
My feeling is the way grunge gets its sort of fullish sound is just by going for one thing that then has this like heavy effect on this, whereas Garbage gets it more from it's a lighter effect, but it's on like 2 separate parts in a way that then gives it a more, in my mind, a more fulfilling fullness.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, no.
I feel we should try and move on.
Yeah. Let's
That's probably too much. I can just make happy noises about.
Yeah, no. Let's move on to As Heaven Is Wide, which is the 4th track. I really have nothing to say about this. It's good. I know that because every song on this album is good, but it is one of those songs that's just on the album, and that's it. And I don't really have as much to say about it, I'm afraid. So yeah, someone else take the spotlight from me.
I mean, I really like this one again, and I was on some level I will agree with. It's another song that is just on the album, but when the album sound is just really good, high stamina. Oh no, these are going to get worse from here on out, guys. Then I was still excited, and I think this one, you know, again, like the second one, what's it called, Queer, you know, it has the sort of more quieter vocal quality, as far from God as heaven is wide, just sort of said, like so whispery, but like, yeah, with so much oomph behind it that you're like, oh my God, it's really good. And you know, the main sort of theme behind it kind of reminds me of the Spy Kids like jingle, however it goes, but in a way better song. So you know, it's got that going for it. I really like this one.
Yeah. I mean, I do kind of agree with this sort of. It's a song off the album, but when the album is so good, that's still a great song. It's sort of, it's another like slower song with whispery, but it's kind of driven more by a sort of bass line. That it is mostly present, and then it sort of drops out for some moments to create a more sort of like a free form sort of section, and then sort of goes back to that sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's the main input I can give.
I like the vocals on this that have that like sort of like really like stretch to them, you know, in an interesting way.
Yeah. Harry.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about this one.
All right, no worries.
I'm not a big fan of it. Like, as you say, it's just another song on the album. I think this is, of the other songs on the album, of which there are many, this is probably the weaker, one of the weaker ones. I don't particularly remember it, so that says it all, really.
Sure.
So the sort of pre-chorus bit, I'd say, just like listening through it now, has a kind of staccato feel to it, which like after the kind of whispery, like feeling low down part, just sort of feels kind of like it's taking steps up, which I just feel it's an interesting thing that's kind of about heaven. Well,
yeah. So the next song, Not My Idea, is my idea of a good time.
Yeah,
if
it's another great one.
Yeah, it is really good. It is really good. This one's like, it's such a headbanger. I don't mean like I want to bang my head against the wall because it's so bad. I mean like you just want to kind of rock out to it. It's really good. The chorus.
Dip, 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 dip.
The chorus is such a
weird
good hook.
sound. I love it.
Yeah. It's cool. It really is. And just that. I mean, again, it just has a line in it that will just be stuck in your head all day, and not in like a cheesy way. It's just a great line. It's really kind of rhythmic. And it's got a beat there, and it will just stick. So, I mean, if that's what great music is, and this is great music. So.
Yeah, I'll definitely say the intro reminds me of Rage in a way, you know, just that guitar strumming and the this is not my idea of a good time just being repeated, you know, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. very, very strength. we're in bad ones now. So does anyone have anything else to say about Not My Idea?
It's got such, well, it's sort of true of all Garbage songs, but a kind of rich diversity in guitars, because it has those sort of heavier moments where it's like, this is not my idea of a good time, and then it kind of has this sort of great kind of wailing bits over some of the like softer moments, and then just it's like full sound when it's doing other things. It's just, I think it's a good example of just some of the diversity of guitar sounds they can get throughout a song.
All right, so the next song, Stroke of Luck, it's good as well. I like the way this one starts. It's kind of it's got like a really light and kind of cloudy and wishy-washy sort of tone that gives Garbage a different dynamic to their usual sound. And again, the chorus is a really strong part of the song. And when the guitar comes in, it gives it like a really relentless drive that I really like. It's a really, really good song, I think.
Yeah.
Is this Not My Idea? Or Stroke of Luck?
Stroke of Luck now, right?
Stroke of Luck's really good, and I've written Just Works. Don't know why, it just worked. There you go. There's my notes.
Yeah, it's one that's like the less like immediately in your face, which, you know, all of the other ones have had such a toughness to them that I think it's good just for your heartbeat to have a more slowed down one at this point, to be honest.
It's sort of been kind of following a pattern of just because like the Super Vixen was, I don't know, sort of a bit heavier, then Queer more relaxed, and then Only Happy with It Rains is like a bit more up there again, and then as Heaven is Wide a bit more relaxed, then Not My Idea going back up again, and Stroke of Luck is again a sort of, well, this is now like the most relaxing it's sort of been for one of their songs. But still, they're just good at building up from like one small sound into like kind of cacophony of, in this kind of case it's more like gentle relaxing sounds, but sometimes it's more in your face ones with previous and later songs.
The next song is this is definitely one of my favorites, Vow. It's really good. I think
the intro on headphones, because I just say, is really trippy. Guitar notes coming from around you and around you. It's just, man.
The way it begins.
Anyway, continue your thing.
Yeah, sorry. The way it begins does have this really cool effect where it's. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's kind of like a delayed effect where the left track is played when the right is silent almost, and you get this really. It's just very, very cool and sounds that
like
kind
of. Sort of helicopter blade kind of.
Yeah. Exactly. And again, the chorus sounds like this sort of, pit of descent, constantly going deeper. And the final chorus, when the lead guitar comes in, again, it adds that extra layer to give us something to build on. And it just totally completes the song for me with the final line, I can't stop when it comes to you.
So this is another song, well, something I've just sort of noticed, and one of the reasons I think why I really love Garbage is just, it always feels like it flows. It's sort of, it goes
Mhm.
all the sections are well knitted together.
Yeah.
Whereas like with some songs, you kind of have, ooh, there was a bit of a jump there because now you've gone to the chorus. But with this, it's just sort of like you feel like, yeah, the guitar's done this bit, this bit, this bit. Yeah, of course it's moved on to that bit. That makes complete sense for it to move on to there. And yeah, I just felt that with one of the movements from one section to another we had here, it was just like, yeah, that just felt like where the music should go. And it's again part of my feeling of like Garbage being one of the like best, well, bands ever, and just from a music point of view of just getting the feeling right of what should happen and when.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that, Jono, because although Bjork I listened to like twice, this, because it has such a good sense of flow, it's so easy to listen to. I think I must have listened to this like 6 times over like the last 3 or 4 days, you know. And it's really good.
Yeah. Harry?
I beat my Tetris record of all time, just like to say during this podcast. I've kind of enjoyed sitting back and listening to you guys talk, and you summarised a lot of the things I like about the album. And this song again, I really like. Some of the songs in this album, like I keep saying, they are all very similar. Some are a bit more catchy, including this one. The effect of the vocals is really good, and I think this is the last one I really like until the last track, and then. Unfortunately for me, it becomes very repetitive following this song.
Yeah. No, I get that. So after Vow, you get what's probably the band's most well-known song, and for good reasons too. You got Stupid Girl. So Stupid Girl is, yeah, like I said, one of the first songs I ever heard because it's the most well-known one, and it just grabs you straight away. I think what grabs you is, I mean, again, of course, the lyrics are catchy. They're really well written, but I think the bass line as well is really, really good throughout the verses. And I get the impression that by the end of the song, it starts to feel like the track itself kind of it falls apart, but in like a deliberately good way. Like, yeah, and the lyrics, they're so, you know, haunting and melancholic, and Manson yet again rises to the task with every song. It's just really, really terrific. Stupid Girl.
Yeah.
Just the sort of, I guess, pre-chorus bit of don't believe in this, don't believe in this, don't believe in anything that you can't break. Or wait, what's it quite? Or is it you can't?
That you can't take?
Either you can't. I think it is break. But
Oh,
I think
yeah?
sometimes it's take as well, but it just that. I just love that, and it goes into Stupid Girl, and then this. After that line, you've sort of got this kind of whining guitar afterwards to reiterate the point. That's just yeah, it's a really great song.
Yeah, this one has some really good like warbling sort of digital sounds like thrown in over the top, which sound, you know, they're really, really good. They like fill out, you know, the space of the song.
Yeah. There's another cool kind of interesting fact about it. There's the drum line that's going throughout, and the bass line, I think, are sampled from a song by The Clash called Train in Vain from 1980. I think yeah. And it's funny because when I found that out, I went and listened to the song, and and when you hear the beginning, it sounds almost identical to this song, and you just expect it to come in with a twangy guitar, and when it doesn't, it's a very, very strange feeling when you expect something that doesn't quite come.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
I think Stupid Girl was nominated Best Rock Song and Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group in the 1997 Grammy Awards, which is what it says in the description of the YouTube video that I'm watching this album on. So, you know, it's got that going for it.
So I've remembered another line that I like of it, which is like, Stupid Girl, can't believe you fake it. I don't know, I just really like the kind of... Cause I don't know, I feel like this explores personality type that you can sort of notice, and I just found it very interesting to I don't know, it just feels like it sums it up very well.
You get a very strong sense of character from this album.
Harry, anything?
It's pretty repetitive. Wasn't the biggest fan of it. I didn't know it was a big hit. I'm surprised it was a big hit because there's way better songs on this album. Yeah, wasn't blown away by it. But no.
Sure. So you get into the part of the album now where for me it's again still consistent, still good, but the songs really do start to kind of just become, one, and I have trouble differentiating them a little bit more. So you have Dog New Tricks, and it's good, but to me it's a bit more of the same old. And I don't really have anything else to say about it apart from the fact that it does have like a killer bass line, which is really fuzzy, and it does have that going for it. But I mean, when you have Bjork, for me, every song really does, stand out by itself, and she's always trying to do something different. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, all right, yes. So yeah.
I mean,
It's ironic that we're feeling this on the one called like Dog New Tricks. I do like this song, and the I find that it is one of the weaker ones, I'd say, but I still do really love the like the chorus bit. That's like distinct to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still keeps up, the vitality of the album. It's another one.
Yeah, no, you're running a bit dry there, Tony.
Yeah. There's some real fucking stinkers in this list. I can't wait to get to them.
Well, we don't have very many songs left, so is there a couple towards then that you really don't like then?
Well, no, I'm talking about my list for synonyms for energy. No, all the songs in Garbage are great, Ethan.
Sorry.
No. They all have such juice.
Oh my god!
I'd say that they're juicy songs.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Jonathan, that's not a reference to one of the burgers that we had at that place the other night, is it?
I was almost tempted to try and get that in there, but I thought, nah, it's a bit too personal and referencing our lives.
Yeah,
I'll just say it is juicy.
So if anyone has anything
it's no
else to
14
say,
ounce.
huh?
Much like the 14-ounce burger,
Yeah.
I can't think of a way to
full
compare
stack.
this one.
You could have doubled, Harry.
No.
You could have doubled up for just £3. We've got eight patties.
I wouldn't be here. I would be dead. Yeah, I have nothing to say about the song. I just want to be involved.
Sure. Well, let's move on to My Lover's Box, which I think after Stupid Girl is probably the best song. I think what I like about it the most, what stands out, is that really cool distant descending dive bombing sound in the intro. And again, the chorus will be stuck in your head all day, no doubt about it. I think when we were hanging out the other day, I was kind of between Queer and My Lover's Box. Both lyrics from that just going side by side throughout the entire day. It's so easy to get stuck there.
Yeah, I really like this one too. I think the lyrics are quite interesting,
Yeah. Jonathan or Harry?
I'm going to be very boring. I have nothing really to contribute.
All right.
I think the "Send Me an Angel to Love," "I Need to Feel a Little Piece of Heaven" is probably one of the most stuck in my head, lyrics from this album.
Yes.
Yeah. This one hasn't stuck in my head. I can't really
Well, that
remember
just means I need to say it 4,000 times.
Yeah.
Because this one hasn't stuck in my head as much as some of the other ones, but it is still great, and it's I think one of the things that just Garbage does great in general is choruses. They're just
Yeah.
I've said it so many times about it being full and energetic, but
you should say it has ardor.
Yes. Oh, absolute ardor. The ardor is second to none.
Should we just go through all of these because we're running out? But come on, the fucking application of this song is incredible. Yes, such drive and exertion, forcefulness, fortitude. It's so good. I really like this one. I really like this one. I like that it has a theme, you know, this sort of religious theme calling back to as heaven is wide. I really like. So I'm like, yeah, fucking edgy, you know.
Yeah.
Talking about God and angels.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. So we move on to the second last song. Fix Me Now, I really have nothing to say about it. I think the riff is pretty good, if I remember correctly, and it reminds me of the Smashing Pumpkins a little bit, but that's like all I have to say about it, I'm afraid. So I'm going to be a bit of a Harry on this one.
Yeah, I mean, you saying "Fix Me Now," the song jumps into my head, which I have to be honest. A few of the ones you've said, I'm like, I have no recollection of this song. So that's some merit, but yeah, it didn't grab me particularly.
Yeah.
So I feel this is one of the more like different sounding ones from the album.
It's
Just
got
the way
a country
that
rock sound to it.
it's just sort of I don't know. The riff is slightly more disjointed in this one than it sort of is kind of the more smooth feels in the other one.
Yeah, she's got more of like.
Yeah, again, I don't really have much to say. I feel like I've kind of like, almost everything I've said to previous Garbage songs can like apply just with how just everything just sort of works in it.
Yeah, well, you know, I think the end of the album really does, you know, pick up like in hardihood again towards the end. You know, it's really like holy fuck, you know, great. And I like that her voice has like a bit of like a croak to it, you know, in this one. Like she's had to keep up such might for so long that I'm like, oh fuck, you know, it's taken a toll. It makes sense for the narrative arc of the album.
And the way that the chorus is just like "Fix Me Now," "Fix Me Now," just sort of kind of overlapping each other each way is like great little effect, and kind of very much just reinforces this idea of, I guess, kind of brokenness and the need for like, well, repair and imminently.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can move on to the final song. Similar to "Fix Me Now," I have virtually nothing. I think it's a fine conclusion to the album. I think it wraps it up nicely. It's good. It's good. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a smooth, dreamy feel, and just the first lyric just being "I am milk." It's just like, I am interested. That's fine.
It reminds me of Clean in some way, just in it being an ending in the same way. But I think it's a nice end. You know, when I listened to Milk the first time, it was like, God, you know, I finished it. I was like, man, I want to just listen to the album again, and I did. And it was great again. So yeah, I think it does.
That is one of my feelings with Garbage. It's just you can binge.
Yeah.
You can garb in.
Oh man, that's so funny.
But yeah, so when because I had to like write a report, which is part of the reason why I really didn't feel like listening to, well, just in general, I guess, new music. So like Bjork was already had a bit of disadvantage, and the fact that it was just uncomfortable and to me put me on edge was not great when I wanted to relax into a task. So I just swapped over to Garbage and just like let it run through basically, and like there's many songs from them just to like get into it. And that's well, just sort of reiterating the point of I feel it's kind of more-ish, you know. You just want more.
It's the crack. In song form. I can't use what I can't
which
use,
John. But yeah, which is why definitely with this, just to say it's a song off the album is no insult, because that just means it's just more of something that's brilliant that you'll probably not really skip over it just because it's garbage, but as in good.
Yeah, I wonder if they knew how good they were when they named themselves Garbage. Is it like a self-deprecating kind of joke, or is it like a let's be the best fucking song that exists, but we're gonna call it Garbage, just to take the piss out of other people, you know? It's like it's just garbage, you know. It's quite
Yeah,
funny.
I do love that. It's just, and especially this, their like compilation album is just called Absolute Garbage, and that is.
Oh, that's so good. That's so funny. Oh my god.
And then one of my favorite albums by them is, I mean, they're all like favorite albums by them, but yeah, is called like Beautiful Garbage. You know, it's just they know they picked a good name. I'm gonna say because I was trying to remember how I first heard of them, and I think it's just because my brother was listening to them in his room, and I like found it such a distinctive sound that just got into my head. So I like went and then like searched more myself, and then like very quickly had listened to like most of the songs they'd ever done.
Yeah, I could see doing this. I was in almost another tale of me listening to the wrong album. I just listened to this, and it auto played onto version 2.0, and I think I listened to like the first song of that, but I didn't want to get confused with the first album, Garbage, so I stopped listening to it. But I really wanted to go and listen to more of it. It's like, yes, want more of this.
Yeah, well, you that sounds like you have the same problem that Harry does when he says, "Oh, can you pick an album for the Music Mates?" And I can just say, no, just go and listen to it in your own free time if you want to pick it. If you like Garbage, Tony, listen to more music by them.
I will, Ethan. I will. I'll put it in my playlist or whatever.
That's cool. So should we wrap it up now then? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Well, I suppose I'll go first then. Like I always do. So, yeah, Garbage. It's a terrific album by a terrific band. I think the thing that Garbage just does the best is the way they structure a song in order to keep you listening, the way that it's always building to something. There's never a boring moment, and every song kind of craves this release that I think you get. And there's always like added layers that come together. I think that's probably one benefit that you have with electronica over, I guess, rock music, is that you can always keep adding new parts, because I think you have a lot more I think you can have like a lot more range, and there's a lot of different kind of areas that you can explore and go into. Whereas I think, I mean, even though I prefer rock music, I think rock music is a lot more kind of contained. I don't think there's as much that you can do if you're sticking to instruments rather than going into a bit more of a digital sound, if that makes sense.
I mean, I would definitely consider this band innovative for its fusion of pop melodies with alternative rock, trip hop, and electronica genres, and its uses of loops and sampling, which is the other thing in the YouTube description of the album that I'm listening to.
The other thing that I also love about this band is, I know I said it in the intro, but I'll definitely say it again in case you didn't hear the first time. The drummer of this band produced Nevermind as well. He was involved in all of the recording process and stuff, and I love that as well. Yeah, he started off as Butch Vig started off as a record producer. He's done some other great albums. He did Siamese Dream, the Smashing Pumpkins one. I think he was quite involved with the grunge movement of the early 90s, and the fact that he kind of formed his own band as well. I mean, it's just great. So I give him that. And as a result, I think I'm going to give this album like a solid 9 out of 10. I don't think I like it as much as Bjork, but it's still pretty fantastic. So I'll give it that.
Okay.
I'll go next. Just, I mean, I've not been able to like withhold how much I like this band. I've just sort of exploded in happiness just listening to their music in the background and trying to talk about it. And I've just, they are such beautiful like music smiths. I'd say they're just such brilliant, so brilliant at creating songs. I'd say, and just I can rarely ever find a fault with anything, and this is just, I mean, this is just a selection of some of the best music ever made, I'd say. So I mean, it just has to be a 10 for me with this. I've just, I just love this band.
Yeah. I'll go next unless Harry wants to.
I don't mind.
Okay, I'll come in quickly. But yeah, this album, man, it sold me on itself so quickly. Then I was just like, it had so many moments where I was just like, oh, this is even better than I thought it was. And I even then very quickly had strong impressions of it. You know, it's such a ardor, dash, endurance, force, go, initiative, liveliness, pluck, potency, punch, spontaneously, steam, vehemence, verve, vim, virility, vivacity, zeal, zest, zing, and zip, operativeness, elan, album that I was blown away with it for so frequently. I could not contain the energy of this album in my physical form while listening to it. It burst out of me like I was the fucking Doctor going through his transformation scenes, all while playing RuneScape. You know, just like, oh, man, this is way too intense for an activity that is just clicking once every 4 seconds. You know. And oh man, yeah, I think it's incredibly well technically constructed. You know, it's just always one-upping itself, always being incredibly listenable, incredibly well paced, rhythmed, and I love it. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 10. Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
Whoa.
the real
Oh,
question,
man.
Tony, on my mind is it better than Rage Against the Machine?
Oh, I don't know. I think I don't know. I think per song, I don't know. I think there are songs in Nevermind I like more. Nevermind? What the fuck? In Rage Against the Machine I like more, but I think this is probably more consistent. I don't know. They're definitely up there. You know, have to deep dive both of those bands.
That's
Compare
cool.
them.
Oh my god.
Okay, Harry, come on, 3 10s.
Call me season 1, episode 11. Of
Even if he
BoJack
gives it a
Horseman.
1, it's getting in the 30+ club, which is good.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's already as good as Post without Harry giving it a score.
Yeah. As I was just about to say, it's going to be a bit of a downer ending. Not that this album's bad by any stretch of the imagination. Also, my joke was interrupted there. It's good. I can't argue with that. Perhaps you've said all the things that I would say about it. There's nothing like original that I can bring. In my listening to it, I felt like the songs I'd heard before. I liked a few new ones, and that amounted to about 4 on the album maybe, and the rest of it just it didn't really stand out to me. It felt like, I know you're saying it's very original, but to me it sounds like things we've heard before, and it kind of, in a way, it felt like Ethan was almost repeating himself by picking this. This potentially why I like Bjork so much, is because this didn't blow me away. And obviously, I know Radiohead's on the horizon, which has filled me with joy. But no, this didn't stand out to me. If I was kind of, had this come in another year, it might be a 7. But maybe this is a bit of a silent running as well, where I feel a bit left out, and that I can't get as much out of it as you guys do. But I'll give it a 6.
Okay. That's 35 out of 40. Well, that's not bad, right? If I can do
That's
that.
very good. It's very good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
fucking
The second
deserves
half
it.
of this was the Squidward meme, where he's looking out the window a little bit.
The funny
Although I
thing,
did break my high score in Tetris, so that's quite something.
the funny thing is, Harry, is that if you'd given this a 10, then it would be on par with Portal 2. And it's an album that I picked, which means that all 3 of you would have liked it more than me.
Yeah. I mean, I've given 1 10 in this episode. I feel like that's enough 10s.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of 10s coming up. I know.
For me, if you had to give a 10 to one of these 2 albums, you gave it to the right one, I think. So I am glad about that.
No, he didn't.
Come on.
I mean, there were 4
This
10s
is
across
a
the.
1 or 10 world. Is it closer to the 1 or the 10?
I like that. I think that's the good. This episode, at least, each of us has given 1 10.
God, yeah, that's
It's just an even split between which one.
Yeah.
an interesting fact about this episode. So we're gonna wrap this up. Say
Yeah.
the ones we're doing next time.
Yes, so for 1996, I've picked two albums. I think Jonathan is going to have a 1995 repeat in the sense that he's going to love one of the albums, possibly a 10, and he will not be a fan of the other album, I think. So sorry about that, Jonathan.
I think I'll be the same, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I think it probably will be. I think I don't know. I can't really predict, but I've picked The Bends by Radiohead, which is an album that definitely came out in 1996. I just want to put that out there. And I've also picked Enema, which is an album by Tool, which is a band that I really, really like. I think I've said this before. It's probably the closest I'll get to heavy metal while still really liking the music. So I guess we'll see you then, right?
Yep.
Thanks for
See you.
listening to this energetic episode of Music Mates.
It's been really long.
It has, really has.